The Aggies were able to take down the Auburn Tigers 27-10. Starting quarterback Conner Weigman did get hurt, but Max Johnson did a good job coming in to play the second half.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. We finally have something to be excited about here on Locked On Aggies. I know we've done 2 reaction shows to victories, but it feels a lot sweeter when you take down an SEC team, especially an SEC West foe in the Auburn Tigers. The Aggies, it was ugly at times. It wasn't pretty, but they left with the win, and I think there are a lot of things to take away from this ball game positively. But the first thing I want to say is Conner Weigman did go down with an injury. It was an ankle injury. It was one of those where it kind of looked like his ankle got caught, his cleat got caught up when he was being tackled, and wasn't a pretty look. He walked back to the locker room. It was in a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. So what does that mean? That means one of the things we talked about a ton here in the offseason at Locked On Aggies, we talked about Texas A&M has one of the best backup quarterbacks in the SEC. Max Johnson is a good quarterback, and we finally got to see that play out. I mean, you don't want to lose your starter. Everyone here knows how much I like Conner Weigman, and I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. But players get hurt. It's going to happen. Knowing that you had a player go down with an injury, your starting quarterback, and your backup came in, and you were able to really kind of get the offense going in a way, score some points. He made a couple. That touchdown throw to Evan Stewart was beautiful. I mean, that was like you couldn't have put that in a more perfect area. Between 2 defenders in the bucket, perfect throw. I mean, just a pretty football to watch fly through the air. And then the throw to his brother for the touchdown was another great throw. So Max Johnson comes in the game. Let's look at the numbers from him. I mean, it was. I think he was 7 for 11, $123 through the air, and 2 touchdowns. He also was 4 for 15 on the ground. He was more mobile than I gave him credit for in the offseason. So Max Johnson, credit to him, come in. It's not easy to be shoved into a football game, especially coming in when it was a tight game. And he came in and he led the Aggies over the Auburn Tigers, who did not look great on offense. I know that there's a lot that needs to be fixed in Auburn. But, their defense, Auburn's defense looked good, and I thought that the Aggies were able to do a good job. They moved the football. Now, I know that they ran for 209, 6.3 yards a carry. I know that the big run from Amari Daniels, the 79-yarder, kind of raised those numbers a little bit, but still, we'll take it. It still counts, and we'll take it. 6.3 on the ground, 209, or 6.3 yards per carry, 209 yards on the ground. Feel good about that. I really do. I feel good about the way the running game kind of looked. I think they closed out the game well, and all 3 guys did some good stuff. Ruben Owens had a couple plays through the air. That fumble that Owens had got the Auburn Tigers back in this game a little bit, and I didn't like that. But, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, there were a lot of positive things to leave this football game with. Evan Stewart is incredible. Only 3 catches, but 50 yards and a touchdown. Anaya Smith was 5 for 78 through the air. Jake Johnson, 2 for 32 with a touchdown. Ruben Owens had 2 catches for 27 yards. I thought that this offense did a good job moving the football and did a good job recovering from losing your starting quarterback. That's a big deal. We are going to keep you updated with everything we know here on Locked On Aggies. When we get in updates, I'll give them to you throughout the week. I will talk to Coach Fisher on the SEC teleconference on Wednesday. I'll ask him what the deal is. What do we know? I'm sure we'll hear some reports at some point. But as of right now, until we hear a positive report on Conner Weigman, Max Johnson is your quarterback. And you need him to do good things. He did that today. He came in and won you a football game. We need to see that going forward. Props to this offense. But even bigger shout out to the defense. And you know what? Coach Durkin, we're going to talk some positives about old Coach Durkin coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get your tickets. Get them last minute, get the best prices. That's what I love about Game Time. is you want to go to a ball game. You know, you and your friends, it's a Tuesday night, and you're like, you want to go catch the baseball game tonight? Sure. We'll go catch the ball game. Do you go to some of these other platforms? No, you go to Game Time because that's where you get last-minute tickets at the best prices. They beat competitors. There is no better place to get your tickets if you're getting them right before the ball game because they're going to give you a great deal. I love Game Time. I use it to get all my tickets, and it's not just sports, comedy. You can go get concert tickets. Every kind of ticket you need, you can get at Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. I was on a lot of different things this week. You know, I went on with the Locked On Auburn host. I went on with some other Auburn people. And, you know, people called me crazy. People called me crazy for saying, I think Coach Durkin is going to change the game plan for this week. You know, and my case for it was, how do you look at the tape from the Miami game and say, yeah, there's no need to rush anybody. We'll just keep letting them sit in the pocket. No, you know, he looked at the tape, and this is what I respect about Coach Durkin. The game plan against Miami was awful. Van Dyke picked him apart. It was a rough ball game for the Aggies on the defensive side of the ball. So what does he do in this game against a Power 5 opponent, an SEC opponent again? He goes and he draws up some pressure, and that defensive line looked ferocious. I mean, let's run through the numbers. I mean, how many was it, like 42 sacks? I mean, I'm kidding, but it felt like it. We're talking, let's see. It was, is it 7? Oh, no, I think it was 7. Was it 7? 7 sacks in this game. 7 sacks. 2 sacks from Cooper, half sack from Terrion York, who Terrion York, by the way, wow, he's a player. He's going to be special for the Aggies for a long time, of course, the freshman. Chris Russell has a sack and a half. I mean, all your linebackers were getting involved with sacks today. Walter Nolan, 1.5 sacks. McKinley Jackson got back there in the backfield. Shamar Stewart had half a sack. I mean, this defensive line lived in the backfield. They were dominating the Auburn offensive line. Auburn's quarterback was indecisive, and Texas A&M's defensive line in front 7, including linebackers, just took advantage of it and lived in that backfield. I was extremely impressed with the game plan from Coach Durkin. And remember this, too. It's one of those things where I feel like when you're watching the ball game, you might kind of have missed. I didn't really pick up on it until after the ball game, but look at this. The Auburn Tigers only had 56 yards through the air. 56 yards. You hold them to, and then you might say, well, they probably ran it for a whole bunch of yards. Nope. 144 yards, 3.5 a carry. What about this Texas A&M defense? I am so happy for these guys. Everybody was upset after the Miami game. Rightfully so. It was a rough game. We were upset about the play calling. We were upset about the defensive line and the linebackers not getting any pressure. Well, they did today, and the Aggies are 1-0 where it matters in SEC play. I hope everybody enjoyed the game. I hope you all were able to get out there and see the game. It was a fun one. Kyle Field looked like it was rocking. Wish I could have been there. Looked like a great time. Everybody go enjoy the win. Have a really great night tonight. We will break this game down more on Monday's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.